Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel, and this is going to be another episode in the pre-market series where I kind of just try to say a few thoughts about what I think is happening with the market in general or a specific company. And it's going to be a little different than my regular videos, which are done during regular market hours. And I'm just going to try to explain what I think will be potentially happening maybe in the next week to month time frame here on the SPY and on the market in general. Now, the SPY is an ETF that tracks the S&P 500, and the S&P 500 tracks some of the largest companies that are currently trading on the stock market. Some very well-known names such as Bank of America, Apple, Boeing, etc. are included on the SPY and in the S&P 500. So it's critical that this index keeps pushing up if we do want to see these stocks and especially the market as a whole push up to all-time highs. Now, some of the stuff that's been happening in the market lately, like I've explained on my Apple video recently, is the fact that we had these presidential debates. Now, the presidential debates are very, very controversial. And as you may know, it's a very, very polarizing topic in the United States right now to kind of agree with one side or the other. And regardless of what side I agree with, you need to know that as a trader, this is going to be moving the markets. Now, in pre-market yesterday, which was this line right here, you can see that we dipped down all the way to around 330, and that was going to be a very critical level because if we broke below 330, you can see that there was nothing stopping us from potentially coming back to this low of 320, which is what we sold off to after reaching all-time highs over the last few weeks. So if we were able to break down below this level and especially open the day yesterday of the 30th of September down below the 330, then that was probably going to mean that we were going to see a retracement back to these lows that we were seeing over the last few days. And if we actually did see these lows again, it's going to represent a great opportunity to buy the dip. However, it does show that this volatility and this uncertainty in the market is very much negative for stock prices and for the economy and the US as a whole. So that's just something to keep in mind. However, when we opened up, we actually saw a monster run to the upside all the way from 332 to around 338. And that's going to be a very critical sign of what the market is seeing as important right now because of the fact that we had these debates and they didn't really affect anything during regular market hours. It's going to be very critical to know what actually did move the market today, and that's going to be the talk about the stimulus package. Now, it came out today that the stimulus package that Congress is proposing is going to be around $2.2 trillion, and this is almost double the amount that the first stimulus package was actually worth. So with this much money coming into the economy, we could only expect this to bolster economic performance, give a lot of people more money in their pocket to spend, and potentially push the S&P, the SPY, and the whole market to the upside once again. Now, we remember in the past when these stimulus packages were mentioned, we had a lot of momentum to the upside, and I hope that we can see this again in the next few days as these stimulus packages continue to be pushed through and as we see the rumors become truth about what's happening with the stimulus package. Now, another thing to keep in mind is the fact that these stimulus packages are not free. They're coming out of the US economy and of the US Treasury, and the US is going to have to print hundreds of thousands of more dollars to make sure this stimulus bill goes through and the people get their money. So what this is going to mean for the market is that we are going to be seeing hundreds of times of more inflation than we're used to seeing as US citizens and as people who use the US currency. It's not really normal for the US to just print money on such a large scale or simply give it away on such a large scale. Obviously, hundreds of times is not true, but it's just an overestimation to kind of represent how unique this opportunity is as compared to in the past of the US, where we haven't seen anything even remotely close to this. And honestly, guys, this money a lot of the times is going to people who don't necessarily need it for their economic well-being. They can survive and go on without this money. And what that means is that people are not going to be holding it and they're not going to be spending it on essential goods. And instead, they're going to be spending it on a lot of commodity items, which is going to continue pushing the markets higher as a lot of these companies receive the benefits of people just having $1,000, $2,000 extra dollars into their pocket for no reason whatsoever. So that's going to be very, very critical also in continuing to push a lot of these consumer brand names up and continuing to make the market worth more. So that's why I think we kind of broke to the upside today instead of seeing a lot of selling, which is what I was kind of expecting with this presidential debate being so disastrous, and with people kind of seeing the amount of volatility and the amount of ridiculousness happening in the US right now from both sides. Now, personally, I think that the US will make it through this moment. We are a strong country, and I think that a lot of people know that the economy is going to make it through this moment, regardless of the fact that we may push to the upside or the downside during this volatility. Now, in 2000, when we did have a contested election between Al Gore and Bush, we saw a similar situation where the market was just fluctuating like crazy as more uncertainty came into the market. And what that kind of means for the future of the S&P is that we're going to be seeing a lot more days like today where we potentially open up higher and then have a monstrous sell-off towards the bottom of the day. And I've been doing a small account challenge here on the channel for the last few weeks, for around the last 2 weeks. And today was just a terrible day for me. Now, I didn't lose a lot of money. The account was around at $90 and now it's at 76. So it is a large percentage of the account, but it wasn't really as substantial as it could have been because I'm just out of day trades. For a lot of traders that don't have 25,000 in their account, it's going to be extremely tough to deal with these market conditions and to kind of know exactly what's happening in the market in the future and to plan for that in order to come into a position that's very strong. So I would advise you guys in the future, if your position is a day trade, don't make that trade. Instead, look for positions that are more of a swing and especially a long-term swing because this market is just absolutely insane right now with the volatility and with the uncertainty. And what happens in the morning could be different than what happens in the afternoon or after hours and vice versa. As more news comes out on this election, on the stimulus package, and on what's happening with maybe Congress, the Supreme Court, and etc. So there's a lot of news moving the market right now. And it's going to be critical that if you're trading, especially on a swing or short-term position, to make sure you know exactly what's going on and stay educated as a trader so you don't get caught out in the rain when the market does reverse like how it did today, or when the market is all the way down at 330 in the pre-market and you're wondering whether or not this is a key level. So just want to show you guys a couple of key levels and show you exactly what I'm expecting to happen over the next few days. Now, like I said, the market did not sell below 330, and that's this level right here, which you can see we tested once. Let me get my brush out. So once, twice, 3 times here, and then 4th time again yesterday in that night. So that's what I was kind of talking about, where this is a critical moment for the market to either bounce up or bounce down, and the market decided to bounce up. So if I was a betting man, I would say that tomorrow we're going to see a lot of new highs and we're going to see around the 341 level, whether or not the market can break up or stay maybe flatter for the next few days before breaking back down to maybe 330, or if we're extremely lucky, 320, which I think is definitely possible with the amount of volatility and uncertainty that we've seen over the next few days. So if you are a swing trader, day trader, you have to keep a close eye out on how stuff is developing. Now, another thing is you can see we are at a short-term resistance here around the 336, and that's the reason why the market sold off today. We reached this level and we just couldn't break it. And as a result, the market found more easier to go down than to continue trading upwards. And that's going to be critical to see tomorrow, whether or not we can break this 337, 338 level, or if we're going to find more resistance and potentially trade back down to the 330, which again would provide us a great opportunity to step in on some trades, as we now know the market is valuing the stimulus package a lot more highly than what happens with the presidential elections, but only in the short run. Now, the presidential elections obviously are going to decide a lot of stuff for the next few years to come, especially economic policy and what's going to be happening with the economy in the next 4 years. So don't sleep on this event, and don't sleep on what kind of ramifications it could have in the stock market, especially over the next few days, as we kind of try to find a direction for the market here. Now, like I said, this is not a great time to trade, especially if you're holding short-term positions in an account that doesn't allow day trades, because you might get caught out in the rain, such as what happened today when we did reach this high of around 338. So you're going to want to be very careful. You're going to want to keep a close eye out on these 3 or 4 events that I identified: the stimulus package, the Supreme Court decision, what happens between Biden and Trump as far as the presidential election. and also what's happening with the stimulus package. So just keep a close eye out on these events and what's happening. And honestly, guys, I think we're going to have a very green day tomorrow and test this 338 again, potentially break out or potentially hold in the short term. Now, one more thing that I want to show you guys is on the 5-minute chart. And like I said, I've been watching this very, very closely because I thought we were going to be breaking to the downside. And I actually had one or two puts in my account on a few key companies that had been trading to new highs like AMD. And I thought that with this market sell off, we were going to be able to see some downward pressure on the stock. And I did make some short-term gains, but I had to sell out as I saw this huge bounce off the 330, and I sold out at market open and was able to make profits. But guys, this is just another example of a risky situation where I could have potentially lost a lot of money because I came into a trade way too early. Now, I knew that the market was going to be testing 330, but I still decided to hop in on this trade instead of just waiting to market open and maybe grabbing a better position to the upside. So that's the kind of things that you have to think about as a trader. And you can see that I actually identified this breakout pattern here, and they broke to the downside, but they just couldn't break through this 330, and that's what's going to be critical to see over the next few days, whether or not we trade downwards or upwards. And it's just going to be a very interesting time, guys. There's a lot of companies that are continuing to trade upwards even through all this market downwards pressure and even with all the events happening. So just keep a close eye out on that. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that every time these presidents speak or these presidential candidates speak, like about electric vehicles or what they think is the future of the company, this is going to strongly affect the price of a lot of these stocks. Now, in the last few days, we saw NIO run up around 25%. And I'm pretty sure that in the pre-market, they moved. And a lot of the reason was actually because of what was said during these debates, where the presidents actually agreed that it was a large focus of theirs to potentially see a lot of EV progress into the future and a lot of just extra renewable energy into the future. So it's going to be very key to see whether we break this downwards channel on NIO and can continue to find support at this 2085 level and potentially bounce up. So that's going to be my update also on NIO, which is a position that I reviewed very recently. And I think they have a lot more upside to cover here. They're a great company and they have sales already and also a working vehicle model. So they're not the same as Workhorse or Tesla or any of these other quote unquote EV stocks that have been blasting the market recently. So this is the company that I would definitely stick with if you're looking for a long-term EV pick. So just keep a close eye out on all these stocks, guys. There's a lot of great opportunities. Like I said, you're better off looking for a swing trade than a day trade in this type of market, because that just guarantees that you're going to be having to come in at a better position and make sure you don't really make a risky trade. With these markets being so up and down and so wishy-washy lately, it's not really easy to tell what's happening. Now, another thing is that I actually am planning on creating a Discord for the channel. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do it through Patreon or what I'm going to do for the Discord, but if you guys are interested in the link to that Discord, leave a comment down below and I will tag you to the link, and that way we can start to create a small community of traders where we can kind of talk about what's going on here and what you guys think will be happening with the market, and that way I can get to you guys more quickly and kind of show you these trades that I'm watching on a daily basis instead of having to talk to you about them maybe hours after they happen or potentially after the breakout moment. So as always, guys, I appreciate the love. We just hit 700 subscribers. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.